Right now, I'm fighting with the feds right now to try and get all my paperwork set up so that we can just set up the Kickstarter for Conqueror Creations, but I still have to do this. So, let's talk about Warhammer yet again, because this seems to be a subject that people really like. I played part of my first 10th edition Warhammer 40,000 game on Monday last week. We didn't get the whole lot of it done because most of the game was the guy teaching me and explaining the game. Us trying to figure out the battle map and a few other things. I'm pretty sure we did a few things wrong because the guy teaching me used 8th or 9th edition while we were playing the current edition of 10th. We spent a good 30 or 40 minutes just trying to set up the map, trying to figure out where the deployment lines were, where the objective markers go, and all that. Once we got set up, we decided to play some environment, which made the map look incredibly cluttered. Like, look at this. We essentially stated that all these things count as ruins, despite the fact that the building should probably count as something else, but I'm learning, so we ain't gonna fuss over it too much. Next came the deployment phase. He placed first, and I placed... he picked out some thing, I think was his Gene Stealers? I can't remember the order he placed his stuff in. While I placed my Razorback, with my Assault Intercessors unit inside. Then he placed something, can't remember what, then I think I placed my Terminators with the Librarian and Terminator armor attached. I wanted these guys next to the Razorback to be sort of defenders, but movement is not great on Terminator armor, so that plan went down. Next was him, then I'm looking through the list of units trying to remember, and I think I put Veterans unit with my Watchmaster attached. These guys were behind a silo to be more defensive since the Watchmaster is my warlord. After that, I placed the Dreadnought in or by the Razorback with the intention of it bum rushing in and firing at will. I decided to name this Dreadnought Brother Mortarius. If we got to play longer, I would have used this to devastating effects against the Flying Hive Tyrant, which he affectionately called the Flyrant. Then came my Captain and Terminator armor attached to my 2nd Deathwatch Terminator unit. These guys I intended on being a wall, but the Terminator armor is not as good as I thought it'd be, but my dice rolls are trash. After that came the Eradicator squad with the Apothecary Biologist attached. This unit did jack fuck all, in all honesty. I probably should have put the Biologists with my Fortis kill team. Yeah, well. Indomitor kill team, also called the Heavy Intercessors, were an absolute powerhouse. I might get some more when I get my Deathwatch Terminator shoulders. Will be fun. Bought them on Etsy, along with, home chapter shoulders. Worth it for $20. Then came Veterans Bike Squad, which were the first unit eliminated. They really disappointed me. Unfortunately. But the Flyrant bullied them, so I can understand why. Then got my Fortis kill team, which are Primaris Intercessors. These guys didn't do much, but they were the big unit, so if they got in, they would have blackened out the sky with hailfire of bullets. Could have used the grenade stratagem with them too. I only used stratagem, or one stratagem in this game, but I'll get to that later. Then I placed my Sternguard Veteran Squad, which also did nothing. In all honesty, this game was mostly just teaching me how the game works, which is fine. I had fun, despite us being able to get only 2 full rounds in. Now, my math adds this up to 2,000 points. I also had an enhancement on my Watchmaster, which is Tome of Ectoclades, which essentially allows me to use the Oath of Moment on 2 enemy units once per game. I used it to rather devastating effects. Too bad I only got to use it once because of how short this game was. So, I got to go first. We got our command points, and I decided to move all my units. I probably should have used the Oath of Moment at that point, but whatever. He told me that I went through all combat phases first, then he would go through all combat phases. So it'd go command, move, shoot, charge, then fight. Then he'd do the same, and I thought it went command, me then him, move, me then him, shoot, me then him, charge, me then him, fight first units, then me then him. But we went with what he said. So I decided I wasn't close enough to bother with Oath of Moment, which I was wrong on. So I moved all my units while he gave me an explanation when I asked for it, and talked to our friend who just showed up. Keep in mind, we were about an hour into the game at this point, and we only just started phase 1. Once movement was complete, I decided to try and strengthen my control on a point and disembark my assault intercessors and Primaris lieutenant around the point. I regret that decision. I also decided to advance my Indomitor kill team to surround an objective to obtain more points, as my secondary objective was to required I controlled 2 points in my non-deployment zones. Once I got to the movement phase done, I decided to shoot my Razorback, which got to use the Stormbolter I had and twin las guns, which I did some damage on some Gene Stealers, but not much. And my veteran bikes also got some hits in. I think it was against the Flyrant, which I don't think they did any damage to. Then came my charge phase, but no units were close enough to charge, so we skipped the fight phase to go his turn. Now, he moved everything, and there's a lot of stuff for him to move. Flyrant got on top of a building, Gene Stealers absolutely surrounded my assault intercessors, Screamer Killer joined in, his Swarm Lord ended up joined in, Termagants jumped some Terminators and just couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, and some, I'll call them Chihuahuas, try to get my Indomitors to keep them from holding the objective, which they did. He took out one of my bikers in the shooting phase, and most of my intercessors, and one Terminator model in the captain's unit. Then his charge phase, which led to his Chihuahuas charging my Indomitors, his Gene Stealers, Screamer Killer, and Swarm Lord charging my assault, and his Flyrant deciding it was time to take out my biker squad. If you want to know how he treated my bike squad, well, here's a picture of one of his attack rolls. That's almost 30 dice. 30! Not all of them hit, but way too many. And then he rolled wounds, all but 2 wounded. I rolled the save, but all failed. Yay! 8 damage. I had 2 bike units with 3 wounds each. Bikes out for the count. Yay. He also destroyed my assaults and their Primaris in the Razorback, as the Razorback would have been able to eat some hits, but do some damage. Disembark the units when destroyed, and maybe do some damage to those in range before it fell. I didn't think of this, but now I know, so I'll do that next time. Then came the return fight, which kind of makes the fight phase, then his command phase thing a little confusing, so I and he essentially get 2 fight phases? Am I understanding that right? But my Indomitors and my Razorback were the only things in range to return fight. I went with the Indomitors first, with only close combat weapons. I piled in, started stabbing them. 2 of the 3 Chihuahuas got downed, and the last one was keeping me from controlling the objective. Razorback, however, completely whiffed his melee attack, so that was useless. Next was my command phase. I used Oath a Moment and the Tome to target the Screamer Killer and the Flyrant, but in my excitement, I forgot to move. Whoops. So I couldn't shoot with my Indomitors. I did absolutely brutalize the Screamer Killer with my Razorbacks. Let's look at this weapon list. Twin las cannons, which hurt with the twin link ability, though looking at the stat sheet, twin assault cannon might have been better. The Storm Bolter, which absolutely hurt with its rapid fire, and the Hunter Killer missile, which hit, but I rolled absolute shit on my damage. At this point, I was about to use my Terminators to attack the Screamer Killer, but the shop was closing down, so we had to clean up. In all honesty, I was going to lose this game, but I know that. I made a lot of mistakes, and that was entirely my fault. I didn't really understand what I was doing. I'll be better next time, and hopefully next time I talk about 40k, it'll be with a complete story. Who knows? But I gotta get a week off of my casual job to fight the feds and fight a bank, so shove off.